Welcome back, everyone, to the main room. We've just been in breakout rooms, three different breakout rooms discussing the user experience of timelining, the vectorization step as a next step to go from having each hub having 400 roughly timelining entries, people having recorded their reflections and insights as they've been doing field exercises, walking in local neighborhoods, etc. Vectorization. And third group, business modeling. So those were the three breakout rooms. Um, Once again, that's user experience, vectorization, and business modeling. And now we're coming back together, and we'd like to hear the key insights and main reflections that people have to share. This is to serve the purpose of all of our collective learning, and for that reason, we're recording the video, and it will go online later after the call. So, would anyone like to go first? What came up in your breakout room? Abdul Basit, please, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Tabs. Even though we are short of time, well, at least we are able to get to some point. Now, regarding the user experience, we have to consider if the charts box will be on the globe or a dedicated evaluation app. And our reflection is that if we want the app to be accessible to, like from the previous discussion that we had before the breakout room, we see that it could be something that could be accessible to almost every person that want to come and check whatever things uh power up or things. And if that would be the case, it would be very better. It would be better to be put on the globe. But if it is that the chart will be meant for evaluation only, so then it would be better to be put in the evaluation applications so that it will be dedicated to evaluators alone. But if it is beyond evaluation, then we are considering to be put on the globe so that it could be accessible to every single person.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks for that. Um, then I think it would make sense to go to the vectorization group. Kamal and your peers would, what are the main reflections that came up for you? And is there any way that you can build on top of what Abdul Basit has been saying or relate to the points that he brought in?
Yeah, Tab. So, from our end, we mainly focus on the implementation and the best approach, as mentioned. So, I think that also relates with what Abdul Basit is asking, which is the is a way to make it for the evaluators alone or for the whole users that want to access the information. I think making it a general system would be much more better because the some information that the evaluators would be asking or will be needing from the AI chatbot is the same thing that all other users will also be needing. I mean, they are literally going to query the same question from the system. So that's just a maybe making it global. It should be very easy. It's a tool. We make a tool for everyone, and it's just I think it's meant to ease the evaluator's tax at that point. So and I think for the approach, uh, we are technical here, so I actually don't want to be more technical when answering the question. But for the
If I may interrupt, you have full license to be as technical as you like. Please don't hold back. This is,
okay,
yeah, this is the call to be as technical as you like. So thank you for bringing that.
so I think to answer the first question was which was the best the entries the best to vectorize the entries stored in the upstash Redis queues. I will recommend the event driven worker, which since we have the data originated in the Redis queue, that's the hub submissions or the informations. I think the most approach is to like treat the vectorization as a distinct, should we say downstream? Yeah, a distinct downstream. So in that case, from we are just moving from the existing geocoding worker. So the workflow will be like, okay, we have the trigger, which is just a hook in the existing workflow. I think we have from the code base that I worked with, that's the potentializer. Yeah. We have the hub submission, process keys, and other keys like that. We can use that as a trigger for a hub. So before we dive into getting the hub data, we can have another a workflow, which would be kind of a privacy one. So whenever before we even when we get the hub data, before we vectorize the data, we kind of run a transformation function that stripped out all sensitive data. Don't know whether that makes sense, but I think this is one of the approach that we can follow to make sure that um the sensitivity of data it's being carried out. So in that case, we can just create a string specifically for embedding that maybe we specify the fields that we need. But I will just use this as example. Maybe you can say the hub name, the mission, the location, and other data that the hub decide to make it public for the AI model to access. So in that case, if we have we have that information, we can go ahead to maybe obsert with the like to use the hub unique ID from the submission as the vector ID. So since we now script remove all the unnecessary fields, we can have when creating the embedding embedding, we are going to make it have the same key with hub information. So every hub have its own unique ID. Every hub will have a vector ID which is mapped with their hub ID. So in that case, we won't be having duplicate of vector data created for the model. Then I think then we can also go ahead to the metadata tagging, which I think I explained that initially. To attach the metadata to the vector DB, which will be the hub ID and other metadata. This just for filtering purpose to filter out unnecessary data when creating the embedding or the vector. So yeah, I think this should be my recommendation for the workflow. And the reason why is vectorization or RAG entirely have this kind of thing that sometimes at some point when you're carrying maybe large amount of data, it's going to take time whenever user asks it, which is going to have effect on the user experience end. Whenever you're working with RAG systems, sometimes they are not given a response directly as normal traditional AI chatbots give response, because now it have to query the data from the hub and feed it to the model before we got the response. So, but we will follow this approach. Is going to like kind of reduce the latency. The user is going to get time response like kind of immediately, just like when he's interacting with traditional chatbot. And in this case, we kind of have a consistency. Since we have the Redis key as the source, we ensure that like only the index valid processed. Then for the best implementation, I will also based on what we discussed, was to go with the serverless drag, which was on Vessel already. So we can just use there's this thing called call start. I don't know. I can't really remember. I think it's called call stack. If someone maybe is familiar with it can correct me if that's it. But literally what it does in is a serverless rag with built-in embedding on Vessel. And utilizing this off stash vectors built-in embeddings capabilities can avoid the need to like manage. Now in this case, we don't have to manage all these heavy Python ML libraries or complex external API, using all these embedding models like the I think all those Hugging Face models or API. So we can just make the architecture to be more of like we have the embedding model, which will be configured on our Upstack vector index to use the model like maybe the OpenAI I forgot the name of their model. I can't remember, but any model of our choice, we can use model like the BGEM3 itself, or we can use the GTE labs directly. Depends on which one we select. Then maybe we can have the query flow, which is going to be the now it's going to be the vessel function. It will accept user query, find hubs doing this and that, or find this doing this and that, or get this information, stuff like that. It will pass through the search. And coming to the sovereignty filter, which is very crucial as privacy is concerned, like every single query to VectorDB must include let's say we can have an included hard-coded filter so that we only access public data. So you can just have a encoded filter like visibility, which is going to be only public. So in that case, we are still making sure that we are not accessing any sensitive data. And I think even if we have a breach, only public data is going to be accessed through the system. Then maybe we can also synthesize to make it more accurate. We can synthesize, I think, in this case. So we can just take top 3 or 5 return chunks and send them back to the LLM to generate the final natural language answer. So more of like we map with the hub documentation and hub doc, we feed to the model and we return the response. In that case, user can get more natural language answer than querying from the data only. So I think that's the approach that I have. And I think this is going to remove the entire network round trip because it's just going to be from the app, the embedding model, and back to our app, to the vector DB. So in this case, we're just using optimizing or utilizing the upstash built-in embeddings, and this is going to reduce the code complexity and also going to reduce the latency as well from user end.
Awesome. Wow, thanks for all of that detail. That was very rich and very interesting to listen to. You've thought through a lot there in a very short space of time. We had only 20 minutes in the breakout rooms, so yeah, thank you, Kamal. That was brilliant, and I'm glad we were recording that. I particularly liked where you said there would be some kind of tag of which hub they come from. So then when you're querying, it can actually be part of the retriever workflow to just use those vectors from that hub. So I think that was something that I got really excited about. I was looking for the mind exploded reaction emoji. I didn't find it in time, but that was my feeling. Thanks very much for that, Kamal. And yeah, like I say, I'll share the recording once it's done. So please feel free to review it as well for being able to cohere your thinking further. Great. Thank you so much. Abdul Basit, you have your hand raised, and then we will hear from Alfred and Ismail for the business modeling breakout room.
Oh, sorry. Maybe I should pen that question till that time. Like, I think it would be good if I just ask directly like this. I don't know which
Yeah,
one.
ask it now, and then maybe we can pin it and come back to it after.
All right. More like a question and perhaps a kind of addition. Like more like a general question. In the case of trying to protect sensitive data, how do we arrive to agree on what data are sensitive and which data are not sensitive in terms of this timeline and application? Because what I understand about the data we are trying to process here is all this kind of discussion that we're having about product development, finding the ground truth, research, the insight that you formulated from your development as a team, your development journey as a whole. So how do we define which data are sensitive and which data and not
Yeah.
in terms of the query. So it might not be answered now. We can have it as something that we can think through later.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Great. Actually, I think that's a perfect bridge into the business modeling um, breakout room as well, where we were touching on that. So I will hand over to the business modeling room to share their reflections.
Yeah, actually, thank you. That's actually a bridge, because that was the first question we first asked ourselves. Ismail came up with that question, like, okay, um, he asks how sensitive are the data, and also what we need to research and look into the data compliance is relevant to our field, relevant to the industry we are going to. And I think, yes, I think mostly that will be how that question will be answered, because there will be existing compliance, data privacy laws and policy existing. And again, it's going to be different based on different region. But I think there are some global data privacy standard. I think mostly from the I think it's mostly from the UK. UK, I think it's mostly from the UK. So, and then after discussing that, we so along the way we find out that okay, this question was limiting, because the question was literally about okay, how do we moderate use of data? So, and the whole breakout room, it was basically on business modeling. So firstly, I was saying that, oh, we are underselling ourselves if the only value we want to model and put out there is stories, is data, whereby where the real value actually lies, is in the project. Is in the project. And I think when we were having that discussion, Tab stepped in, and then he shared a slide. He shared like a pitch, that okay, that was insightful, and okay, opened my mind. And I don't know if you want to share that again, but from that slide, it shows that okay, Prisma has actually thought about it fully, and it was broken down into phases. Yeah, let him share it. So it was broken down into phases: phase one, phase two, phase three. So, and currently we are in the phase one, and whereby the core value proposition there is the publishing stack, and so one of the things we also discussed about was okay, for us to model a business, we have to first map out who are our stakeholders, who is bringing what, who is taking what, and so, and so in this case now, the stakeholders are, let's say, um, philanthropists, NGOs, and so this will require more research into it. But then we touched into okay, let's assume okay, we want to move into phase two, and start our value proposition are now like teams. Now this will require active participation of ops, because teams are basically coming from ops. So now the question is, would op be be would Ob want to be involved in this process? So like checking the availability and the interest of participating in it. And I could answer from our Ob, yes, definitely, who will surely be interested in being part of the process. But after the breakout room and going through the slide itself, I was thinking that okay, yeah, actually, it's it actually do make sense, because publishing story, is actually a value proposition also. There are corporations that want to support and buy that story as, as part of their CSR activities, corporate social responsibility activities. But then, most of it is a PR stunt, So I think, and for PR stunt, they'll want to go to the organization or entity that has the largest noise and recognition already. So I would say, for minimum viable, product, Prisma has done the part of creating the stack available already. So now I'm not talking about from business perspective. Now, if we want to sell such value, before we can actually close, let me call it client. It is actually a wrong word in generative principle, but just for me to be able to communicate what I'm trying to say, client, before we can close client and they can bring in money and support, most of these stories, and like, I think we will now have to move to the phase two, whereby it is now this phase two that will give us the brand recognition and the brand recognition that we have, that now the philanthropists or corporations that want to, like, add, like, consider us as, as worth investing as part of the CSR. Then I think at that moment now we can now sell the stories. So, but we didn't touch deep into the how we are going to model the like, for example, the datas, because we were thinking, okay, that this question was kind of limiting. So that's where we stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Alfred. Wow. And for the record, we did not talk through, or I did not say nearly half as much as what Alfred just interpreted from that image itself. So thank you for that, Alfred. And I'm so glad that it's resonant and that you're able to translate so much of that into your own context. Um, Really cool. Really, really cool. All right. That's been a very rich round of reflections. Is there anything in particular that people would like to bring on top of those first reflections to build on that further? Bearing in mind that we are recording this, so we can end it here, or we can do another round if people think that would be worthwhile. A way to rephrase that as a question might be, what dots are you seeing between uh what yeah, between all that has been shared? Can you connect any of those dots? And especially if that adds something new to the conversation. What new potential are you seeing based on what's been shared for specifically your own work, your own contexts, and even within this program, the CATS program? Yeah, Alfred.
Yeah. So one of the potential I'm seeing is, I think, um, currently I can see two ops fully represented in this core. I can see Basit, Ayom Sugar, OJ, their core, and Ismail, their core teams of Best Trend, and also me, myself, and Morgan. And I think Kama just left. We are basically the co-leads for Project Genius. So I could see proactive and high interest and in from to like to keep going, like to keep this the process alive, and for long term, keep going in the future. I think we are ready, and so I think we now have to, like, move into the next phase of now designing the continuity of this whole thing even after the hackathon is ended. So I think now we can now, sit, as I said in the business modeling and breakout room, like, okay, I think we now have to sit down and, think this all through. Not just that, okay, we stop there and then when we try to move into phase two, we just jump off the plane and start building parachutes along our way. Then I think if we're moving into the phase two, we have to sit down and actually, think this all through and model it, completely, so that we don't miss out on on a key a milestone. So, and I feel like my hub is ready, and I'm sure Passive hub is also ready. So we can actually move into that. Yeah.
Thanks. And I just thought as you were speaking, we could also frame this in terms of a wish from the future. So if we could wish something to for the future to bring us, from that perspective of all of this hub network and especially the business modeling, I think is interesting as well. What would that be? Maybe you want to think on that for a bit, Alfred, and Abdul Basit, um you can go
So,
first. Or
sorry,
yeah.
please, can I come with question again? I spaced out for some minutes.
Oh, my question was, can you frame that as a wish for the future to bring something to bear, for this potential that you're seeing to be activated?
Okay, I think Basit, go ahead. I'll think about it.
Okay, Basit.
Okay. I think the question that you asked um actually goes straight to what I actually wanted to say. From our discussions in the breakout room and what has been said here again, what I've seen here is that it's like it opened my minds, not just now, but before now, that this program is far beyond this hackathon program. I mean, the CAT hackathon. And what I'm seeing here in this process of discussion is that we have the possibility and potential to if we build it right. I mean, we deliver all these thinking right, we can be kind of a household for investors. I mean, they come down here and search for more like I'm thinking of becoming a kind of another version of Y Combinator. Yeah, in a very different level, where ideas are not just based on thinking, but actual community problem identified. So if people can get that rich data, they have a very strong good in determining investment. I mean, deciding on their investment approach. And aside from that, if we can do this right as well, we won't motivate only just these two hub, but some other hub networks will be willing to join if they see what the results at the end of the day. So those are the two things that I think I am able to connect, um, see that will be happening in the future. Yeah.
Thanks, Abdul Basit. So the floor is open if anyone else would like to share a reflection. Otherwise, we'll start to wrap things up. But I'll just leave a few seconds in case anyone else feels called to share anything. Is there anything that you'll be taking away from this call? Any new insights or new perspective? Ayomi, yes. I was having a feeling that you might have something to say. Please.
Okay. Uh, thank you. So, this is my first time joining the studio session. So, I've been kind of calming myself to really get all of the things that are being said here. I'm trying to like understand better and know um know the bone of contention. So, speaking of um the long-term vision for this. I'm not sure I really know the relationship between WADA and Prisma some extent, but um, I think I know that um, this CAT hackathon is is being facilitated by Prisma, right? And um and speaking of the long-term vision, like um how to make sure that this program goes beyond just the cat hackathon, I have a question. And the question is it that um Prisma is just like um a company that facilitates hackathon, or Prisma that facilitates hackathon using the regenerative principle, or Prisma is just um or Prisma is just partnering with WADA. So I mean, in the sense that maybe when WADA have some other program, Prisma would like facilitate. From what I am seeing, if this if Prisma is actually a company that Prisma will like continue to like um I don't know how to put this. Prisma will continue to like um look for maybe people or organization, then Prisma facilitates or manage. My question is, I don't even know that that's the question because
Um, okay, if I understand what you're saying correctly, you're asking about, in a way, you're asking what is our role going forwards. I feel like that's what your questions were centering around. Um, and what does that mean? Um, so what I can say in response to that is that from the beginning, we're trying to activate as much of your own organizing whilst staying as much in the background as possible. And so going forwards, we'll try to kind of fade more and more into the background. At the same time, now that you've all been through this program, um, as has been made clear in this call, there's a very large amount of system complexity that you're able to engage with because you've been through the process. There's been a huge amount of experiential learning, and so you can really relate to it. Like you can hear when Alfred's talking about the business modeling angle, he's like really speaking from that perspective of having stepped into this role of being a hub in this program. I think I remember actually with Alfred, it was you at the beginning where you were saying we were thinking of joining as participants, and then we realized we could actually be a hub. So we decided we are going to be a hub, and we had a call and we spoke about that, and I was really encouraging and enthusiastic. Um, yeah, I hope that's been a worthwhile journey for you. Um, and I'm saying that to say that a lot of how we've been structuring things is to support this hub network in being um, able to organize itself. And so now we can shift our role slightly in being maybe like a thinking partner or a friend walking that journey with you. But going forwards, you'll be much more able and encouraged to um, set up and develop your own initiatives and really inform the direction going forwards. Um, and yeah, that's all been by design from the beginning. I hope that maybe clarified some things or answered some of your questions, Ayumi. Maybe I misunderstood it as well. You can help me to hear your questions more fully. Feel free to write something in the chat if you'd like to. For now, let's go to Morgan.
Okay, so basically what I'm trying to understand is the business model. So I want to know, yeah, um, I know currently because we worked in the with the publishing stack, and then you introduced us to the regenerative development principles, yeah. So from the business side of things, yeah, how I see it is I think Abdul said something about Prisma becoming like a Y2 company. So yeah, like like a place to develop teams and talents and projects. Yeah. But my question is this. Okay. So how I see it is I see the tool here as a way to empower, should I say VCs now? VCs, I don't want to say venture capitalists, but I want to say venture studios, hubs who um are developing projects, yeah. So how I see it is they come in and they use your tools, the tooling to like really, really refine what they are doing. So in a way, I see it as a way to partner with venture studios to develop their projects, develop their ideas, and not being the venture studio itself. Yeah. So being the venture studio itself means like you'll be developing teams and but you coming up with a structure for the studios to actually develop their teams and the principles of development to actually flesh out their ideas in a way that actually tells a should I say a better story now, or a more coherent story. So that's what I see Prisma doing. I don't know if I'm correct, and so that's what I need more clarity on, really. So in that case, the business is majorly targeted towards hubs and venture studios. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, wonderful, great, brilliant question. Thanks, Morgan. It brought to mind this particular slide from our deck actually, which says our overarching vision or our long-term vision. I'm going to read it out. We envision a 2025 to 2050 where those closest to the ground have sovereign access to the social and technological infrastructure needed to enable the safeguarding, celebrating, and evolving of their stories, cultures, and systems in a way where they can invite trusted and aligned partners without losing touch with their roots. That's what we're really trying to work on, and we do that with these hubs on the ground, like like how you're noticing. And yeah, you mentioned the publishing stack. That's like one of our key enabling capabilities that we're trying to bring in because it's by publishing the stories, importantly, data-backed stories, that you can engage and build trust with those aligned partners, hopefully leading to material resourcing as well as sort of social, intellectual resourcing too. Um, so yeah, and we now have the Nairobi summit coming up, um, where yeah, I'm really happy to see that we've had an extension of budget, which means that one of every um, hub
Probably.
hub lead will be able to come to the summit itself. And that's a perfect environment to test out how far we can actually get with making this real. I want real partnerships to be formed. I want you to really create leads and connections that lead to opportunities for the hub and the teams. And yeah, we're all gonna try and create this story together and take it as far as possible. Thanks for the question, Morgan.
Okay, so that leads me to like my next question, really. So
Yeah.
that in like the long run, um would this be like a paid tooling for the hubs? So let's say, for example, now if I didn't participate in this stats hackathon and somehow I stumble across the Prisma tooling and I feel it's going to be like a great fit for my hub and I reach out to basically I will be required to pay for the tooling.
Um, okay, interesting question. So it brought to mind this thing because the way this has been designed is to be a win-win between us and the hubs. So the more you win, the more we win. The more, well, yeah, it's like that. The more you're winning, the better. It's alignment of interests, basically. Um, I think it doesn't make sense to try and monetize the hubs. A lot of the times, these community centers are the ones that are really needing funding as well. So it doesn't make sense for us. We can't really grow the system by trying to monetize the hubs. So I don't think it makes sense for there to be, for the software and the infrastructure, things like the publishing stack, to be a paid service. I think the way it would work best is if these events are being sponsored by larger organizations or organizations that are in touch with larger sources of um, funding. So they exist at a different level of this whole kind of network of different organizations. Those are people like foundations, philanthropic organizations, impact investors, um, and maybe anyone who wants to fund a distributed research network, a distributed R&D network. That's kind of a phrase that has come to mind recently. They would fund these events. Through that, we get paid to facilitate and set up the publishing stack and all of this thing. And that's actually free. We're not charging for the publishing stack itself. And this might change. We might have to revisit this. Um, and then the consequence of that is if the hubs can publish their stories and engage people with those stories, which I think makes sense to be done through a subscription model, then they can start earning a income. Now, maybe it makes sense for us to apply some kind of like a narrative infrastructure fee. Um, and in that way, with all of the hubs across the system, across the network, we're able to have funds going into a sort of treasury as well, and that's how we can sustain ourselves as a kind of meta service provider or whatever the however you want to describe us as an organization. Um, but the key there is it's not a fee to set it up. It's a fee, it's a portion of the income. So that's why it's like the more that you're able to uh, engage people with these stories and bring funding in for yourselves, the better for us as well. So it's a win-win in that way.
Yeah, so the reason why I'm asking is because like I don't know for other hubs, but the goal of our hub, or I think I'll speak generally here. So the goal of a hub really is to develop projects, and I feel the end game for every project should be market integration, so that be able to make profit from what you're doing, have a business case, and push to market at the end of the day. So if that's the goal here, in as much as when we are starting currently, I mean, if Project Genius was to pay to use this these tools, this infrastructure, we probably would not have used this at all, yeah. But um going forward, you spoke of partnerships. So I don't know how the future is going to look like after the hackathon, with the partnership between Prisma and the hubs. But saying it, like you said, the more we grow, the more you grow. So it's like a win-win for everyone. But we're going to go to a point where we'll have to consider, paying for the tooling. So I think also like good to like have that in mind. So at what point do the hubs required to switch from the freemium model to like a subscription based model? Because um the goal really should be we are developing projects that um at the end of the day are going to be profitable. We hope so, by God's grace. So will the model be in a way where the hubs will be the ones to subscribe, or is it that at a point where we have a team or a project that has pushed to market, and let's say they're having transactions, they're having income now, will it be the project teams themselves paying for this stuff? Because from my understanding of the whole hub landscape, yeah, this is how it starts out here. And from the hub, we basically growing to be an venture studio. So when you start having projects that are, that have become products and we've pushed to the market, and you're working with them to really, really build their business case, it really stops being a hub and it starts being a venture studio that invests in, talent and developing projects. So that's what I'm thinking here, concerning like the business side of things for Prisma here. And I don't know if it's a question, a suggestion, really, but these are just my thoughts.
Yeah, no, it's a very great question, and it's bringing up some very tangible things. So, I would say that it's not the hubs paying for it, it's not the teams paying for it, it's actually the funders paying for it. The people that are engaging, that are interested in the work happening on the ground. I think we should basically say, okay, you're interested. Um, the next level of information you can unlock with an active subscription. And we haven't like got to that level of detail of the financial modeling. What we've done is like saying, and it all revolves around these case studies, because the key is to set a boundary where you say, um, this was this is a case study of event, this event which demonstrates systems change in this particular way. Um, I think that's how we're approaching this and kind of giving structure to our own thinking. For the hubs and the teams, like how you were saying, um, the income, the money coming in is coming from the likes of impact networks, philanthropic institutions, people that impact investors, um, those people that I listed before. And so they are the ones that would actually be sort of paying for this. I guess you could then also say, yeah, but if we have to give up a percentage of that income to Prisma, then maybe at some point we should also just be building this ourselves. And to that, I would say, hopefully, we're doing a good enough job of organizing all of this complexity that you actually think, yeah, it's worthwhile for us to be paying for that, or like attributing a percentage of the income for that. Um, and if not, then yeah, this whole thing doesn't work. But hopefully, we do enough of a job to for that to be worthwhile. And the last thing I'll say is that the this is something that's maybe like a little bit more ambitious. But I was part of how I've been thinking about this so far is that the projects that could form are ones because of the nature of the program and this whole action learning approach, very participatory. The products that they could be working on are also very participatory, and the data generated is coming from participation in systems change. And so that data is data that could be integrated into the case study and be like um, uh, a signal, an information signal that's part of the storytelling. Um, and so in that way, the case study is kind of like integrating all of these different pieces and with the same business model of engaging impact networks and the like to sponsor one of these events to produce a case study. In that way, it's like a funding distribution stack from top to bottom, from the impact networks all the way down to the teams on the ground. It's all based on the data coming through the case study.
Awesome. Okay, I'm kind of like getting more insights on this here. Well, I'm not driving towards the point where the hubs are going to develop their own publishing tooling. I believe that's too complex to doing the perfect job as is. Where I'm actually driving to here, it's the future of the partnerships between the hub and Prisma. For example, let's use CATS as a case study. And then Prisma got licensed to host the hackathon. Basically, we've been interacting with you a lot, but it has a finite deadline. So after this summit, what happens between the hub and Prisma? That's one question. And the second question is, what really do the funders get out of this? Is it that they get data? Do they get projects? Do they get teams? Do they get hubs? Um, because if I'm funding and now I'm like trying to like put myself in, a funding perspective, yeah, aside from the philanthropic nature of stuff, I believe for philanthropy, just philanthropy, you giving, but I don't know how easy it is for you guys to find philanthropists. Yeah. Um, we've been existing as a hub for a while, and I know finding philanthropists it's no small business. So it's kind of like hard. You need to sell a lot of stuff. So most people actually do want something from every partnership here. But for example, so something like cats now, and let's say February 26th, yeah, come and gone. They've picked the best winners and everything has ended. So what happens now between the hubs and Prisma? Do we keep the existing partnership? Do we keep using the tooling? How does the data who gets the data at the end of the day? How does it work really? How's the future of the partnership like? Is it that Prisma are going to be like growing a distributed what's the word you call it? The term you use, a distributed network of hubs and really really just engaging with the tooling, even post marketing or post funded projects, or I don't know, like what's the future of the partnership like? That's like where I was driving to with all my questions about business model, because I think everything is everything moves with money, so that's like what I'm thinking about.
Yes. All right. Great questions. Thanks for driving to this space. Yeah, it's genuinely really helpful because without someone like you asking questions like this, then we don't often get to speak to this, and because we don't often get to speak to this, then I start to become more disorganized in my thinking. So it's actually really helpful to keep coming back to all the different parts of the system and keep refreshing them. So yeah, the relationship between Prisma and the hubs going forwards is undecided so far. You're right, it does all revolve around money. If we can't get any more funding coming in, then the amount of support that we can give is going to dry up as well. Um, so there's like um, yeah, I mean, for us, we would really actively step back in as soon as there's another funded event coming up. And to say this again, CATS has been quite exceptional for us because we didn't have any in-person um, element to it. At one point, we were planning on having a 5-day in-person intensive in Nairobi before the summit to really converge all of this work. And then that's been sort of that plan has changed, unfortunately. But that would have made it more similar to how our systems have actually been designed for a particular kind of event. And without that, we've sort of been facilitating in a little bit more of a distanced manner. Um, and I'm saying that because um, if we can get another funded event in the calendar in the future, then that's when we can really be very active and have a very active relationship between Hub and Prisma. If you're talking about money going forwards and the Hub relationship, um, to be very honest with you, the level, the stage we're at in terms of development, we're not quite formalized yet to facilitate any subscriptions. And for that reason, there's no real basis for us to have any kind of service fee or anything. So if you have real funding opportunities coming up, um, you would need to find your own ways to facilitate those exchanges. And obviously, with us not being part of that, then that's you can decide those terms however you like to. Um, and you also said the second question, what do the funders get from the data and the partnerships more broadly? So I can say that a lot of the design of Prisma comes from trying to design something for a client. And that particular client is, you could kind of say, an impact network in a way. Um, they're a little bit, it's more advanced than the field of impact. The field of impact is kind of transactional in many ways still, rather than transformational. Um, but there's many parallels and there's many similarities to draw. So the key point here is that through a long, long co-design process with that particular client, which is kind of like an impact network, um, the what stands out is the value proposition to them is case studies, because they need case studies to demonstrate applying their systems change methodology in the real world. They need the case studies to be able to point to them and say, this is our work. This is what it really looks like. This is what we mean when we're talking about our systems change approach. And through those case studies, they can then work on larger sources of funding and fund the network. So it's we're basically selling the case studies to these clients. And the interesting thing to kind of come full circle with the publishing stack, the reason why we deployed it to your own cloud instances is because we want you to actually own the case studies, so that the hub can decide. It goes back to that vision of the vision slide that I shared, so that the hubs can decide the terms on which they're engaging their well, their partners, um, on their own terms. Oh no, wait, without losing touch with their roots. I'm basically saying to engage partnerships on their own terms, and that happens because you have sovereign access to your case studies. But this is all very complex still and very ambitious. Like, we don't even really know where the boundary of a case study is, right? That's something that we need to work on going forwards, because without having a boundary to a case study, there's no way to really say, you're now looking at the case study and now you're not. People are just using all of the software and we're just providing it all for free. So it's a little bit, needs to become a bit more formalized. But thanks for the question. Yeah, Morgan, did you want to say anything in response?
No, I do not have any more questions, but I want to say I think I kind of understand the business model and who really your clients are now. But like I was saying, like final words from me, the the entirety of what I was trying to ask really was just to understand the future of our partnership, and I think I really do understand now. But just to to close up, I'm going to say moving forward, if Project Genius is going to be doing we host annual hackathons, and I really, really love the principles. So I don't know how it's going to be, but I'm going to be disturbing you quite a bit when that time comes. So yeah, that's it from me.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, my door is always open. Thanks, Morgan.
You're welcome.
And maybe we can work some of these things out together as well, because I think your questions are really like getting to the heart of it. So thanks for that. Abdul Basid.
Uh, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your response so far, Tabs. I actually wanted to say some things regarding Morgan's questions, and you have done fantastically well justifying that. To cut it short, I will focus on the funders. What does the second question that you wrote on the chat there? What does funders get from the data and partnership more broadly? Okay, I want to use this illustration. It's not even illustration. I will cite this. There is this constant argument. If you are familiar with the Cardano ecosystem and Solana ecosystem, there is this argument that you found online that there are no builders on Cardano, there are no applications on Cardano, there are no transactions on Cardano, stuff like that. And if you want to narrow it down, I particularly or personally have had this argument for so many times where we have African people complaining at every rounds of Project Catalyst that no African projects are funded or perhaps stuff like that. There was a particular situation, I think that was from 14 in the Cardano ecosystem, where people were complaining that there was a particular proposal that was being submitted by, I think from European side to solve a particular problem in Africa. And people have this argument that if it should be that African people propose such an idea, it could not have been funded, but because it was from the Western side that the proposal was submitted, that was why it was funded. But I have this counter argument. That that was not the case. The problem we are having is that those companies that propose such an idea to solve our problem in Africa, they have a solid working project that has been built as a flagship from their own end, contributing into the Cardano ecosystem, solving the problem of this argument that there were no builders on Cardano. Now, they are proposing based on that very existing flagship to expand their solutions to Africa. And the only reason why for me as an individual to agree to that very success is that they show workings. They show a kind of a preliminary solutions. Then in Africa, we have seen a lot of brands, companies in the previous times that have been funded for so many reasons without having any kind of traces or traceability to build. To building stuffs. I complained this a lot of times. I think I have one-on-one conversation with Messi one time ago, and this was my concern. If you are saying that they are not bringing resources to Africa, what in turn African people are bringing into the ecosystem as a value? I asked this question so many times. It can only happen to have African people or perhaps directing resources from Cardano to African side only if you are building stuffs. And I can bet for free that this card hackathon, like the label Cardano African Tech Summit, the Cardano has come in that very context. If you want to tell the story now, Prisma can come and say, we facilitated this Cardano Africa Tech Summit. And that is the narrative that Cardano people are looking into. We have about 1,000 and plus participants. Real people. We have this number of about 12 ops or 13 ops with at least 10 teams in each of the building real products on Cardano blockchain. And that is enough for Cardano ecosystem to come out and say, you people saying that are no builders on Cardano, we have this data and can be verified by anybody at all in the ecosystem on the Prisma infrastructure. So with this, Prisma can actually focus more on generating funding from these established institutions. They are not specifically meant to be for Cardano only. They can have this data that has been already curated and go to SingularityNet and say, hey, SingularityNet, this is our pitch. We have facilitated this program for CAT Hackathon, ensuring that we bring build from African side into the Cardano ecosystem. And by doing so, we have this listed of projects that have integrated Cardano blockchain in this social aspect and so. And this is the use case for them. In terms of financial modeling, okay, for this transaction happening on this particular project from this hub, they are contributing to the Cardano treasury and even contributing to the narratives of no builders and Cardano blockchain. So in that regard, I think if Prisma should be narrowing themselves down, Prisma can be instead of narrowing themselves down to be charging service from the hub network, it will be very much, to my own understanding, to focus more on this established institution as they have seen for themselves, that we have this network of hubs. We have this established network of teams that are building real solutions. Now, as an established institution, so you want your infrastructure to be leveraged by teams, by individuals, or whatever the case may be. We have the resources. Then they pitch to them, they find themselves the time to check if these data are real or not from their infrastructure. Then they switch into negotiation and get the funding if possible. So that is way I think it will be better for Prisma as of now. Until that time, as I like the fact that thanks Rita for being honest and being true to this, that it is not yet certain that we have a kind of a existing builds that can necessitate charging orbs to pay for services. So I don't see I did not say that cannot come in the future, but as of now, I see the relationship between Prisma and Orb Network to be a kind of a continuous one to engage these established institutions. We have the data. We have free people that are working on project. We have this. And if you want to expand your network, your infrastructure, you want people to use it, real people to use it, and stuff like that, they can do that. And it will be a kind of a long-term relationship. And on the side that you mentioned that at the end of the day, us were able to formulate a kind of a partnership between this kind of a program. Imagine, let's say, Paraventure in Nairobi, we have teams presented their project at the end of the day. They have real partnership and they put fund into their program. Eventually, it booms. They start making monies and they ship their product in the market and they start making money. They can be a kind of a initial, that is far aside from this CAT program. It will be a kind of a side partnership between the teams and the Prisma team. Okay, you have been able to achieve this tremendous success due to using your infrastructure or toolings. We want to expand the usage or have a kind of a partnership in terms of building. We can teams and the Prisma team can have that very conversations and have some kind of probably we might be giving out this percentage from our profit or whatever the case may be. So that is what I see in terms of financial modeling as far as Prisma case is concerned. The established company, they gain that very narrative. Like as I explained, everybody wants to be ahead of other competitor with real data, with real facts. So I think they gain from that very side. While Prisma on their own have that very potential to maintain the relationship with the hub network to approach other institutions or established companies. That's what I want to say. Thank you.
Yep, full agreement from my side. Thanks, Abdul Basit. I don't know if you were expecting a particular response from me, but or if you just wanted to share that perspective. But yeah, it's very, very great points that you're raising. Actually, I will say that I think the time is now and things are starting to change. I was in Berlin with Mercy at the Cardano summit, and um, before the summit began, there was like they called it Day Zero, and we were in another venue. And at one point, we had a talk from several people in the Cardano Foundation, and so they were stood up at the front of the room, and Mercy went up to join them as well. There was about 100 people in audience, and then it got to a point where Mercy could say a little bit about the CATS program and how the whole summit is coming to Nairobi next year. And when she said, you know, things have gone really well, we've had over 1,000 participants, the room started clapping. And just that whole moment gave me chills because I was like, there's something really alive here. There's something that's really shifting and starting to get noticed. So yeah, we are being noticed in a big way. And I'm really glad that, like you were saying, reference to the data, the infrastructure, the real teams on the ground, it's all there to really just make it undeniable how much activity is happening. So yeah, I think that narrative will shift, and I think you're very welcome to make that clear to someone whenever that comes up again in the future. All right, Morgan, and then we need to start wrapping up. We've been 3 hours on call at this point, so yeah, let's try to start wrapping up. Morgan, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I said that was my concluding statement on the numbers in my hand. So, yeah. At the bottom made me remember something. Yeah, and what I remembered was this. So there's a particular reason why personally I'm kind of like I'm really not interested in hackathons most times because The hackathon stops mainly at the project level, and it doesn't get to transform into a product. Yeah. And I really, really got to love the regenerative development principles, yeah, because it makes builders engage with the users from the very beginning. But if they don't push to market, like really it defeats the entire purpose of the principles, yeah. So for example, in the local hub, I think at the end of the day, we had about 9 teams submitting, like going to the finish line. And from those 9 teams, they'll be picking only one to Nairobi. So there's 8 teams that has actually put in the groundwork that might just end there. Yeah. So that's the reason why I was talking about partnership really with the hub because it ends at case studies. And I'm wondering if there's a way you guys could like extend it to, the full end-to-end thing from like beginning till you get to market. And come up with like a model where, okay, really I'm not just looking for, people with like an idea shift or philanthropists. So now there's like a clear model to say, okay, yeah, for the rest of the hub, like after the timeline for Cats and WADA has ended, um there's a provision to work further to, get you guys to the market. And since on the high level, Prisma are going to be like your target audience really from what I understand is going to be like, let's say VCs, venture studios, people who have their own principles and come up with their own ideas, and then they want to, let's say, infiltrate the market. You have like a network of hubs, and not only do you stop at the project level, you actually get to go to the end with as many teams are willing to go to the end and actually like validate these products, these projects, and get them into products. I don't know, just a suggestion, but I would really love to see if there's like an end-to-end integration to work with hubs and teams ultimately to get to market. So that way everybody gets like something out of it. I really don't know. Because it's going to be quite crushing to see at the end of the day, over 100 teams worked on these principles, did the groundwork, interacted with their community, and let's say only 3 get incubated. Yeah, I know there's really resources is limited, yeah, but there should be a way, even if it's minimal, like okay, now there's no money involved. It's you guys with your teams, you have created a project, and if you are interested in getting to market, which I believe not all shall, because at the end of the day, it's not everybody's going to go to the finish line. But let's say some, and for those few who are interested in actually, becoming a startup, becoming an enterprise on their own, Prisma has like a framework, a guided framework to say, okay, if you can show me this, then on our end, our commitment will be to introduce you to our, to the higher playing clients, or to the people who have, the bigger banks. So for example, you could say, okay, the project now, we're done with the project phase. If you can go back to your community and show us that, you have, let's say, on your end, a database showing 50 people have committed to use your application, pay for it, and we could see like your 3 months timeline, your 6 months timeline on your own, doing your groundwork, pushing your own project. Because I love the fact that you said the use cases are ours, so each team has agency, they have their IPs and everything. So you get to push it, and then if we can say this, we have a provision where we open up a partnership where you could come back to us, or we have that existing partnership still there, and we could really really help you, introduce you to people who could help you scale, because now you've shown proof of work. Now you've built up onto this level, and this is where we'll come in, and these are our terms for coming in. Yeah, so in a way, instead of limiting the business model to philanthropists and people with the big banks, it could be like a really 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 tiny way for the hub and the teams in particular to really grow. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Totally. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I fully agree. There are certain uh things to that we could touch on from here, but I think to recognize the time, I think we should wrap it up at this point. But those questions, Morgan, are some of the most important questions we can give our attention to at this stage. So yeah, it's very active in my mind for sure. Um, cool. All right. let's wrap it up now. Thank you so much for such a full call. We've literally been here 3 hours now. Um, and thank you for engaging with the prompts in the breakout rooms and that whole exercise. And thank you for all of the reflections after. It's been a really, really meaningful discussion. Let's do a round to close, a round of what you're taking away from this call, what you're leaving with. And then, yeah, we'll finish the recording there. I'll hand it to Morgan to start things off. And then you need to pass it on to someone as well, Morgan.
Okay, so what I'm leaving with is kind of like a an overview here, a deeper understanding of what Prisma is, their business model, what they aim to do, and I really, really love what you're building. I love the infrastructure. I engage with the tooling, and yeah, I love this. I love the principles too, and I love the fact that it's kind of like open to hubs. I feel like we're in like the beta testing stage where we are playing around with your tools for free, and I also love the fact that you are here with us. Yeah, I feel it takes a lot of your time. I mean, this call is alone is 3 hours of your day gone, but I'm really grateful you and Prisma gives this opportunity to us the hubs down to the local level to really build something using the tools you've given us for free. And big shout out to Prisma. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Tabs, for all the time, all the engagements. It's been an awesome journey. And honestly, I learned so much. I'm really grateful. Thank you. And I'll be passing it off to Oje Agbaji. I don't think I've heard your voice since we started the call, so yeah, that's what I'm passing it to you.
Hi, good afternoon, guys. Um, Actually, basically what I've done since this course started is listening because it's my first time joining this studio session and I've actually learned a lot from listening. I didn't want to I didn't want to like talk before because I don't want to like talk about things I don't really know much about. But after this call, I've learned a lot about Prisma itself, about vectorization in particular, all thanks to Kamal. And yeah, basically, and it's a lot of information to wrap my head around at once. So I'm still going to like go over the recording again. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Tabs. Thank you, Ayomi, and everyone else in the call. I'll be looking forward to the next studio session. Thank you, everyone. I'll be passing the mic to Abdul Basit.
Right. Thank you very much. I just want to say thanks to everybody on the call, and thanks to Tabs organizing this session. It's really wonderful. And I appreciate the fact that we are moving forward to establish some kind of partnership and we are thinking forward beyond the hackathon session. Yeah, it's very clear that it will come to an end at some point. So what happens then? I love the fact that we are thinking in that very direction and see how much we can work together in the future, even without the hackathon ongoing again. So I want to say thank you guys for thinking in that right direction. And thanks you to TAS for giving the opportunity because it's an opportunity to uh, invite us to the studio. We are more than this. Participating in this program, I will see it as an opportunity, calling us to have kind of a experience to be shared among ourselves. So for me, it's a very great opportunity to us, and I say thank you. Let me pass the mic to Ayomi Sugar.
Yeah, I was wondering if no one will pass the mic to me. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for this opportunity given to me. I mean, to be among these great minds here, I'm privileged. And I hope to we achieving something, tangible together. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Wow, I've been smiling from ear to ear for the last 5 minutes. This was such a wonderful way to start the day. Massive thank you to all of you. And I think this is incredibly inspiring to be a part of this with you all. So yeah, let's keep moving it forwards. See you in the next studio session, hopefully, and probably before then. Good luck with the results from the evaluators, which will be between now and then as well. And yeah, just a massive thank you for your engagements and your participations across the whole program. You've really made this a truly exceptional and very, very special experience. So yeah, massive thank you and see you again soon.